3 days passed since the first shocking meeting, and the Galactic Council called an emergency session in their most secure chamber. Word about human ship sizes had spread through space like wildfire, causing panic in several star systems. Some alien governments even started moving their military fleets, thinking humans might be preparing for war. Commander Sung Ho of the Human Space Navy stood in front of a much smaller group of alien delegates. Only the most important representatives from major galactic powers were allowed in this meeting. The atmosphere felt heavy with the kind of nervous energy that happened right before big wars started, or when the entire galaxy was about to change forever. The chamber itself looked different. From the first meeting, gone were the colorful floating bubbles and bright displays. Instead, everything was dark metal and serious faces. The aliens who remained were clearly the ones who made the big decisions for their civilizations. Commander Vextar spoke first, but his usually strong voice showed signs of worry. "We have spent the last 72 hours studying the information you gave us. Our best scientists are having trouble believing these measurements are real." Sung Ho nodded with respect. "I understand your concern, Council Leader. Maybe it would help if I explained how humans think about building ships." The crystalline delegate, now called Chief Engineer Kaltuz, activated a workspace made of light. "Before you begin, Commander, let us share our view. This is the largest ship ever built by our people." The display showed a magnificent vessel that was clearly the result of thousands of years of advanced technology and careful design. It was beautiful, efficient, and by alien standards absolutely massive. The information scrolled next to the image: 2 kilometers long, crew of 8,000 people, capable of supporting a small colony on a new world. "Impressive," Sung Ho said, and he really meant it. "Your engineering is remarkable. The way you balance power and weight represents solutions we are still trying to figure out." Kaltuz's crystalline body brightened with pride. "This ship took us 400 years to design and 50 years to build. It represents everything our civilization can do at its absolute best." Sung Ho pulled out his datapad. "I would like to show you something similar from our fleet. This is the SF Bizon, our newest colony ship." The holographic display updated, and complete silence fell over the chamber. Like a heavy blanket, the human ship appeared next to the alien vessel, like a mountain appearing next to a small hill. 25 kilometers long, with space for 500,000 crew members. The Bizon was not even the biggest ship humans had in service. Minister So Young, the human diplomatic expert, watched the alien reactions carefully. "Perhaps we should explain how humans approach space travel," she suggested gently. "Please." Vextar managed, though his voice translator was clearly having trouble with the emotional overflow. Sung Ho activated his presentation system. "Humans come from a world that taught us to think big from the very beginning. Our planet has huge oceans, enormous continents, and extreme weather that can destroy cities. When we started building ships on Earth, we built them to handle the worst our world could throw at them." The display showed images of human ocean vessels, massive container ships, aircraft carriers, and cruise liners that were bigger than the first spaceships most alien civilizations ever built. The aliens stared at these pictures with growing understanding and growing fear. "When we moved to space," So Young continued, "we brought that same thinking with us. We do not build ships to carry a few dozen people on short trips. We build them to carry entire communities across the galaxy." General Taemin, the military representative, stepped forward. "Our approach is simple. If you are going to cross the space between stars, you might as well bring everything you need to build a new civilization. When you get there." The alien delegates looked at each other with expressions that needed no translation. The implications were staggering. These humans were not building large ships just because they could. They were building them because they thought about space colonization in a completely different way than every other known species. "How many of these vessels do you operate?" asked Delegate Yorthak from the Spiral Arm Coalition, his tentacles curled in what humans would recognize as extreme anxiety. Sung Ho looked at his datapad. "Currently, we have about 800 colony-class ships in active service, with another 200 in various stages of construction. That does not count our cargo haulers, research vessels, or military fleet." The chamber's environmental systems struggled to keep proper air conditions as several delegates began breathing too fast in their life support systems. The numbers were beyond anything they had imagined, but that is just our interstellar fleet. So Young added helpfully our system defense forces and local transport networks, operate several thousand additional vessels. What the aliens were beginning to understand sent chills through their entire beings. Humanity did not just build big ships. They built big fleets of big ships. Each human colony ship carried more people than some entire alien civilizations had. Each human cargo vessel moved more goods than most alien trade networks handled in a whole year. The scale was not just impressive. It was absolutely terrifying in its implications if humans could build and operate fleets of this size. What did that say about their industrial capacity, their resource management, their overall civilization development? And they had not even seen the military vessels yet. Economist Ralven from the Trade Federation was frantically calculating numbers on his portable computer. The resource requirements alone, he muttered, should have bankrupted any civilization. The energy needs the raw materials. The manufacturing capacity required. General Taemin overheard the comment. That would be true if we were trying to support this from a single world, but we are not. Each colony system contributes to our overall industrial base. Each new world we settle adds to our manufacturing capacity. The terrible efficiency of human expansion was becoming clear to the alien delegates. Other species established small colonies and slowly developed them over hundreds of years. Humans arrived with massive colony ships, immediately set up industrial operations, and began contributing to the overall human economy within just a few decades. It was like watching a civilization that operated on fast forward compared to everyone else. Our Hyjin checked her schedule. I believe your next stop is touring our civilian manufacturing facilities. You will see how we support these fleet operations. The aliens exchanged looks filled with dread. If human civilian operations worked on this incredible scale, what would their military production look like? The answer to that question would either end the current crisis through negotiation or escalate it beyond any possible control. What none of them realized yet was that everything they had seen so far was just the tip of an iceberg so massive that it would redefine what they thought was possible in galactic civilization. The humans had been very careful to show them only the most basic and routine aspects of their society. The real revelations were still coming. And when the aliens discovered what humans considered normal military operations, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift so dramatically that nothing would ever be the same again. But first they had to understand how humans had built an industrial base capable of supporting operations on this unimaginable scale. The bright lights of the Galactic Council meeting hall made Ambassador Hyun-woo squint as he stepped through the glowing blue portal. The massive chamber stretched out before him like a crystal cave filled with floating bubbles. Each bubble held a different alien species, and each species looked more strange than the last. Hyun-woo had seen pictures before, but being here in person was completely different. A tall, bug-like creature with 4 arms waved at him from across the room. Its green shell reflected the chamber lights like a mirror. Another alien looked like a living tree made of silver metal, while a third resembled a floating jellyfish surrounded by purple electricity. The human area was much smaller than Hyun-woo expected. The chair looked tiny compared to the massive tanks and energy fields that other species needed. Some aliens were so big they needed entire rooms, while others were so small they lived in special boxes that made their voices louder. Jehai, his aide, activated their translation device, and immediately the chamber filled with sounds that made sense. The buzzing, clicking, and strange music-like noises turned into words he could understand, though some emotions still came through as feelings rather than sounds. Council leader Vexstar stood up on his 4 legs and pointed at Hyun-woo with 2 of his arms while the other 2 held glowing tablets. The insect-like being spoke in a voice that sounded like wind chimes mixed with radio static. Welcome, humans of Earth, he said through the universal translator. We have watched your people for many cycles now. Your technology grows fast, and this impresses us very much. But we must talk about some concerns we have about how you expand into space. The chamber filled with agreement sounds that the translator turned into words like yes and exactly and concerning. Many of the aliens had been watching humanity spread out from Earth to other star systems. What worried them was not that humans were mean or wanted to steal territory. The problem was something much more strange. Crystalline being that looked like a living diamond leaned forward in his energy bubble. This was Delegate. Mordan from a place called the Crystalline reaches his voice. Sounded like beautiful singing mixed with the noise of breaking glacier starships. Humans, he said slowly. They are unusually large. Much larger than anything we have seen in 3,000 years of space travel between different worlds. Shin looked at Jihai with confusion. They had prepared for questions about human culture, politics, and maybe military strength, but spaceship size seemed like a weird thing for advanced aliens to worry about. It was like being invited to dinner and having everyone ask why your shoes were so big. I do not understand the problem, Hyun-woo replied carefully. Our ships are built to do the jobs we need them to do. Are there rules about how big ships can be that we should know about? A wave of uncomfortable silence moved through the chamber like ripples on a pond. Several delegates moved nervously in their bubbles and pods. The translation devices struggled to turn emotions into words that humans could understand. Fear, mixed with amazement, created a thick tension in the air that made it hard to breathe. Star shifted his weight from one set of legs to the other. His forearms trembled slightly as he spoke. Perhaps he said slowly, we should show you what we mean. Computer display human ship. Called Soul Pride next to normal Galactic fleet ships. The holographic system in the center of the chamber came to life with bright blue light. A three-dimensional image of a human cargo ship appeared spinning slowly in the air. It was Soul Pride. A typical freight hauler that carried goods between Earth colonies, nothing special by human standards. Just a regular working ship that thousands of people saw every day around. The human ship. The computer began adding other vessels for size comparison. What happened next made several aliens gasp, and one actually fainted. First came a Vextari battlecruiser, their most advanced military vessel. It appeared next to the human cargo ship like a tiny silver needle next to a skyscraper. Then came a Mordanic exploration ship looking like a crystal marble beside a mountain ship after ship appeared from different alien civilizations. Each one was dwarfed by the human freight hauler. The chamber exploded in chaos. Alien voices filled the air and languages the translators could not handle fast enough. Some delegates activated emergency shields around their bubbles. Others began sending urgent messages to their homeworlds. Several aliens just stared at the display with expressions that needed no translation. They looked terrified. Jihai leaned close to Hyun-woo and whispered, Sir, I think we have a big problem. Look at how they are reacting. Hyun-woo studied the alien faces around the chamber. Even though they looked completely different from humans, the emotions were clear. These were not angry faces or territorial faces. These were the faces of beings who had just seen something that changed everything they thought they knew about the universe. The Soul Pride continued rotating in the holographic display. Its bulk made every alien ship look like toys. The human vessel was not even trying to look impressive. It was just a working ship built to carry cargo between star systems. But to these aliens, it might as well have been a flying city. Honored delegates, Hyun-woo said, standing up slowly, I think there might be some confusion here. The Soul Pride is just a standard cargo ship. It is actually considered small by our freight standards. We have much bigger ships for carrying more cargo. The translator could not handle the collective sound of shock that filled the chamber. It came out as a noise like 1,000 glass windows breaking at once. Vexstar forearms shook as he tried to process what the human had just said. Small, more than crystalline form flickered with patterns, so the translator said meant extreme distress. Human ambassador, that ship is larger than our capital city stations. It has more mass than some of our smaller moons. How can you call it small now? Hyun-woo looked confused. He pulled out his personal datapad and began searching through ship specifications. This was clearly a bigger misunderstanding than anyone had expected. Computer, he said, show them our standard ship classifications. Start with personal craft and work up to our largest vessels. What happened next would be remembered in galactic history books for thousands of years. As the display began showing human spacecraft from smallest to largest, the alien delegates realized they were not just meeting another space-traveling species. They were encountering beings who thought about space travel engineering and the very idea of what was possible in completely different ways than every other known civilization. Personal shuttles appeared first, and the aliens relaxed slightly. These looked normal, even a bit small compared to some alien personal craft. Then came human system patrol boats, and the aliens began to look worried. The patrol boats were bigger than some alien military ships transport. Ships came next, and several aliens activated their emergency life support systems. The human transports dwarfed the largest passenger ships that alien civilizations had ever built. But this was still just the beginning. Colony ships appeared in the display, and the chamber fell completely silent. These massive vessels, designed to carry entire human populations to new worlds, were larger than most alien space stations. Each one could hold more people than lived on some alien planets. Finally, the display showed the largest human vessels, deep space exploration ships that could operate independently for decades. Research vessels that were essentially flying cities, military ships that had not even been mentioned yet. Each one redefined what the aliens thought was possible in spacecraft design. The real shock was still coming, and when the aliens saw what humans considered normal fleet operations, their understanding of galactic politics would never be the same again. Admiral Kyung-soo was watching routine fleet training exercises in the Centauri system when the emergency message arrived. The transmission carried the highest diplomatic priority codes and requested his immediate presence at the Galactic Council chambers with appropriate escort for a demonstration of human naval capabilities. He read the message twice and started laughing. The aliens wanted to see human naval capabilities, and they were asking for appropriate escort. They had absolutely no idea what they were asking for or what was about to happen. Captain Unji, he called to his flag captain aboard the battleship. Incheon signal, the entire fleet, we are taking a little trip to council space, and we are going to give our new alien friends a proper demonstration. 2 weeks later, every long-range sensor system throughout the galactic core began detecting massive gravitational disturbances that did not match any known natural phenomena. Traffic control stations across dozens of star systems reported space-time ripples that indicated large-scale fleet movements of unprecedented size. Within hours, every major alien civilization had redirected their deep space monitoring equipment to focus on the approaches to Council territory. What their sensors detected made military commanders across the galaxy question everything they thought they knew about space warfare. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, creating a display of precision, coordination, and raw power that sent immediate shockwaves through alien military commands across the galaxy. At the center, Admiral Kyung-soo flagship the battleship. Incheon led a battle group that included vessels whose very existence had been theoretical until this moment. Captain Yoonji stood on the bridge of the Incheon monitoring communications channels as alien vessels throughout the region scrambled to maintain safe distances from the human formation. Admiral, we are receiving thousands of transmission requests. Most of them seem to be demands for identification and statements of intent. Answer them simply. Kyung-soo replied calmly. Tell them we are here for a diplomatic demonstration as specifically requested by the Galactic Council, nothing more. Nothing less. Lieutenant Commander Dong Hyun looked up from his sensor monitoring station. Sir, we are detecting massive fleet deployments from at least 6 different alien civilizations. They appear to be mobilizing their forces for possible combat operations. The Admiral nodded with complete calm. This was exactly what human strategic planners had expected to happen. Signal the fleet maintain standard formation but power down all weapon systems completely. We are here to demonstrate capabilities, not to fight anyone in the council chambers. Emergency sessions had been running continuously since the moment the human fleet appeared on long-range sensors. Delegate after delegate took the floor to express outrage, fear, or simple disbelief at what their military forces were reporting. This is clearly an act of aggression, shouted Representative Clickstar from the Outer Rim Federation. No civilized species brings a war fleet to diplomatic negotiations. This violates every treaty and custom we have established over thousands of years. Ambassador Han Wu, who had remained on the council station during the 2 weeks of preparation, stood calmly to address the chamber. Honored delegates, you specifically requested a demonstration of human naval capabilities. Admiral Kyung-soo has brought what we consider a minimal escort force appropriate for such a demonstration. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of several delegates activating their emergency life support systems and sending urgent messages to their home government's minimal Vexstar Voice was barely louder than a whisper. Ji-Hai activated the chamber's main display system. Perhaps a visual comparison would be helpful to understand the situation. The holographic system showed the human fleet in formation around the council station. 57 vessels of various classes and sizes led by the massive Incheon-class battleship. Each human ship dwarfed even the largest vessels in the combined alien fleets that had been hastily assembled to respond to what they perceived as a threat. The Incheon Haiyan-Wu explained as considered a medium-sized capital ship in our Navy. We brought her because she represents our current technology standards and because she is new enough to showcase our latest capabilities. Minister So Young stepped forward. Admiral Kyung-soo also brought several support vessels to demonstrate the logistics capabilities that make extended human fleet operations possible. What she was referring to became terrifyingly clear as the display zoomed in on what humans had casually labeled support vessels. The fleet tender Daegu was larger than most alien space stations and could repair and maintain entire battle groups in deep space. The ammunition supply ship Gwangju carried more firepower and storage than most alien battle fleets possessed in total. The fleet hospital ship Ulsan could provide complete medical care for more beings than most alien worlds had in their entire population. The communications ship Jeju could coordinate fleet operations across multiple star systems simultaneously. Questions Haiyan-Wu asked politely. The questions, when they finally came, revealed the depth of alien confusion and rapidly growing concern. How did humans power such massive vessels? How did they coordinate fleets of this incredible size? How did they build and maintain ships that exceeded the total industrial capacity of most galactic civilizations? Most importantly, if this was truly a minimal escort force, what did a full human battle fleet actually look like? Captain Eunji was wondering similar things as she watched the alien response fleets maintaining very careful distances from the human formation. These aliens had clearly never seen real military power projection, she realized. They operated small, efficient fleets designed for limited regional conflicts. They were about to get a complete education in human strategic military thinking, and the lesson was going to reshape their understanding of what was possible in space warfare. The demonstration was just beginning, and already several alien governments were requesting emergency diplomatic channels to discuss immediate non-aggression treaties. The smart ones were starting to understand that humanity represented a completely new category of galactic civilization. What they did not yet realize was that this minimal escort force represented a tiny fraction of human military capabilities. The real strategic reserves remained hidden in classified locations throughout human space, waiting for threats that hopefully would never come. But if those threats did emerge, the galaxy would discover that human defensive capabilities operated on scales that made current demonstrations look like training exercises. The Shadow Fleet was still hidden, and its revelation would either bring peace through overwhelming deterrence or reshape galactic politics through sheer military dominance. Either way, the age of small-scale conflicts between alien civilizations was coming to an end. Chief Engineer Minho stood on the observation deck of the massive manufacturing station, Aurora, watching the latest construction project take shape in the enormous shipyard below. The keel-laying ceremony for the new supercarrier Sejong had attracted visitors from across human space, but today guests were completely different. A delegation of alien engineers, economists, and industrial specialists had been touring human manufacturing facilities for 3 weeks, trying desperately to understand how humanity supported its massive fleet operations. What they were seeing challenged everything they thought they knew about resource management, manufacturing capacity, and industrial organization. This facility, Dr. Haijin explained to the increasingly overwhelmed group, is one of our smaller shipyards. We primarily build civilian vessels here: cargo ships, colony transports, and passenger liners. Nothing too complex or demanding. Economist Ralven from the Trade Federation activated his recording device with shaking tentacles. His species had been tracking galactic commerce and industrial production for thousands of years. The numbers coming from human space made absolutely no sense according to every economic model his civilization had developed. Dr. Haijin, he said very carefully, your data indicates this smaller facility produces more tonnage per year than our 3 largest shipyards combined. How is this economically sustainable without bankrupting your entire civilization, Dr. Hyjin smiled with genuine friendliness. I think the confusion comes from different approaches to manufacturing philosophy. Would you like to see our resource processing operations? The tour group moved through the station's industrial sections, passing manufacturing bays where massive ship components were being assembled by automated systems that operated on scales the aliens had never imagined possible. Each individual production line was larger than most alien factories. Worker robots moved components that weighed more than small alien spacecraft assembly systems, put together hull sections that could house entire alien cities. The scale of automation was beyond anything an alien experience, but what truly shocked the delegates was how routine and casual everything appeared to the human. Workers technician Chang Wu joined the group as they entered the raw materials processing center. This might help explain our manufacturing capacity, he said, activating the main holographic display system. The presentation showed the Sol system, complete industrial infrastructure, and the alien delegates felt their minds struggling to process what they were seeing. Mining operations throughout the asteroid belt extracted resources on a scale that dwarfed entire alien planetary economies. Massive refineries on Mars processed raw materials using techniques that alien civilizations considered theoretically impossible. Orbital manufacturing platforms around Jupiter moons operated automated factories larger than most alien space habitats. Crown jewel of human industry was the Titan Industrial Complex, a manufacturing center so large it was visible from orbit around Saturn. The complex alone produced more finished goods than the combined output of dozens of alien civilizations. We process approximately 40 billion tons of raw materials annually, Chang Wu explained with the casual tone someone might use to discuss the weather. Most of that goes into ship construction. But we also support colony development programs and interstellar trade operations. The alien delegates struggled desperately to process these numbers. Engineer Voxtal from the Crystalline Reaches had spent 3 centuries optimizing his civilization greatest production systems. Their most impressive achievement was a mining operation that processed 50 million tons per year. 40 billion tons, he repeated very slowly, trying to make the numbers make sense. That is more than the total industrial output of the entire Galactic Trade Federation just from this system, Dr. Hyjin confirmed cheerfully. We have similar operations in 17 other star systems, with more facilities coming online every year as our colonies develop. The implications hit the economic delegation like a physical blow to their consciousness. Humans were not just building large ships, they had constructed an industrial base capable of supporting truly galactic-scale operations. Their small fleet exercises represented more manufacturing capacity than entire alien civilizations possessed in total. Manager Yunsu led the group to the Logistics Coordination Center. This section might interest you, economist Ralven. We track resource flows and supply chain management across all of human space from this facility. The main display activated, showing cargo movements throughout human territory, and the aliens watched in growing horror as they realized the true scope of human economic activity. Massive freight convoy fleets moved between star systems, each individual ship carrying more goods than most alien trade routes handled in month-supply. Depot stations larger than alien cities maintained stockpiles of equipment, raw materials, and finished products for the growing human presence throughout the galaxy. The logistics network operated with an efficiency that suggested human civilization had solved problems that other species considered impossible. Key to human operations, Manager Yunsu explained, is redundancy and scale. We do not build one large facility, we build dozens of large facilities. We do not operate single supply lines. We operate complete supply networks with multiple backup systems. What the aliens were seeing was a civilization that had approached space colonization as a massive engineering problem requiring equally massive solutions, where other species built small, efficient operations designed to minimize resource consumption. Humans built large, redundant systems designed to operate reliably across interstellar distances. This is completely impossible, whispered Trade Coordinator Zilnan from the Economic Council. The resource requirements alone should have destroyed your economy centuries ago. No civilization can sustain operations on this scale. Chief Engineer Minho overheard the comment and approached the group. That would be true if we were trying to sustain this level of activity from a single world, he agreed, but we are not operating that way. Each colony system contributes to our overall industrial base. Each new world we settle adds manufacturing capacity to the total human economies. Alien delegation was beginning to understand the terrifying efficiency of human expansion methodology. Other species established small colonies and slowly developed them over centuries using careful resource management and gradual growth strategies. Humans arrived at new worlds with massive colony ships, immediately established industrial operations using equipment and expertise from their existing systems, and began contributing to the galactic human economy. Within just decades, the exponential growth was staggering. Dr. Hyjin checked the scheduled tour itinerary. I believe your next visit is the military production facility at Proxima Station. They are currently working on the new Bizon-class super battleships. The aliens exchanged glances filled with absolute dread. If human civilian industry operated on this unimaginable scale, what would their dedicated military production capabilities look like? The answer to that question would either provide reassurance that humans were fundamentally peaceful despite their capabilities, or confirm their worst fears about what humanity represented as a potential threat to galactic civilization. What none of them suspected was that human military production operated on scales that made their civilian industry look modest by comparison. Deep in the restricted military zones of human space, far beyond the trade routes and colony systems that aliens had been permitted to observe, Admiral Jinwoo reviewed the latest intelligence reports from the ongoing Galactic Council sessions. The alien civilizations were desperately struggling to understand human capabilities based on what they had been shown so far. They had absolutely no idea what they had not been allowed to see. Yet Admiral Captain Sujin reported from the bridge of the stealth carrier Dokdo long-range sensors are detecting multiple alien reconnaissance probes attempting to penetrate the outer boundaries of the Vega defense perimeter. Admiral Jinwoo nodded calmly. It was completely inevitable that some alien powers would eventually try to gather intelligence on human military capabilities beyond what had been officially demonstrated. What they were about to discover would either end the current diplomatic crisis through negotiated settlement, or escalate it far beyond any possible control signal. Fleet Command, he ordered calmly, initiate Protocol 7 authorization. Omega Black. It is time our new friends understood the complete scope of human military doctrine and strategic capabilities. 3 days later, alien intelligence services across the entire galaxy began receiving field reports that completely defied analysis and challenged everything they thought they understood about space warfare. Human patrol vessels were appearing in star systems that had been completely empty just hours before. Massive military structures were being detected in deep space, hidden behind sophisticated cloaking systems that made them completely invisible to normal sensor sweeps. The technology involved was decades ahead of anything alien civilizations possessed. The most disturbing reports came from the outer edges of human territory, where alien scout ships discovered military installations that challenged every assumption about human force deployment and strategic planning. General Wu Jin stood in the command center of Fortress Station, Aegis carefully monitoring the orchestrated revelation of human defensive capabilities. The station itself was a marvel of military engineering that redefined what was possible in space-based warfare. Aegis was a mobile battle platform larger than most alien space habitats, equipped with enough firepower to completely sterilize entire star systems. The fortress could move between different locations, operate independently for years, and coordinate defensive operations across multiple sectors simultaneously. General Lieutenant Colonel Sung-min reported alien reconnaissance fleets are maintaining positions at the very edge of our sensor detection ranges. They appear to be conducting extremely detailed scans of our defensive installations. Let them observe everything, General Wu Jin replied with complete calm. Make sure they get absolutely clear readings on all systems except the ones marked with highest classification levels. What the alien scouts were seeing completely revolutionized their understanding of human military thinking and strategic doctrine. The humans had not just built large individual ships, they had constructed entire mobile Fortress systems designed specifically for interstellar warfare on a scale that had never been. Imagine Captain Young-ho commanded one of the destroyer escorts. Deliberately revealing itself to alien sensor sweeps, the ship Gangwon was considered a small vessel by human military standards, but its appearance sent immediate shockwaves through alien military commands throughout the galaxy. The destroyer carried more firepower than most complete alien battle fleets and operated with a level of technological sophistication that suggested human military development was literally decades ahead of anything else in known. Space Captain Communications Officer Hae Young reported, "We are receiving transmission requests from at least 12 different alien vessels positioned at maximum sensor range. They all seem to want detailed information about our ship classification and operational capabilities. Tell them we are a standard patrol vessel conducting completely routine security operations." Captain Young-ho replied with slight amusement at the alien reaction. Nothing unusual or threatening about our presence here in the Galactic Council chambers. Emergency sessions had become a permanent, continuous state of affairs as more and more intelligence reports arrived from the edges of human space. Delegate after delegate presented evidence that painted an increasingly alarming picture of human military capabilities. "The evidence is completely overwhelming," declared military analyst Rexstar from the Defense Coalition. "Human military doctrine operates on scales we have never encountered in galactic history. Their standard patrol vessels exceed our battlecruiser specifications. Their defensive installations rival our largest." Space Habitats Ambassador Hyen Woo. Listen to the growing alarm and panic with careful attention. The controlled revelation phase was proceeding exactly according to human strategic planning, but the alien reactions were proving more extreme than intelligence analysts had predicted. "Honored delegates," he said, rising calmly to address the increasingly agitated chamber. "I understand your concerns about human military capabilities. Perhaps it would be helpful if we discussed our overall defensive philosophy and strategic thinking." The chamber fell into complete silence, with every delegate focusing absolute attention on the human. Representative humans learned very early in our history that the most effective way to prevent wars is to make the cost of aggression obviously much greater than any possible benefit. Hyen Woo continued, "Our military forces exist specifically to protect human colonies' trade routes and civilian populations, not to threaten other civilizations." Minister So Young activated the chamber display system. "However, we believe very strongly in comprehensive deterrence. Our military capabilities are specifically designed to handle any conceivable threat to human space and human citizens." What appeared on the main display caused several delegates to immediately activate emergency protective systems around their environmental pods. It was a tactical overview of human military assets, showing fleet deployments, defensive installations, and strategic reserves positioned throughout human territory. The numbers were absolutely staggering. Thousands of warships, organized into battle fleets that individually exceeded the total military power of most alien civilizations. Mobile fortress systems capable of completely independent operations across interstellar distances. Strategic weapons platforms hidden in deep space locations, ready to respond instantly to any threats against human colonies or trading partners. The defensive network operated on a scale that dwarfed anything aliens had imagined possible. "This is complete madness," whispered Council Leader Vextar. "No civilization can possibly sustain military forces of this incredible magnitude." "Actually," Hyen Woo replied very quietly, "this tactical display represents approximately 15% of total human military capacity. The remaining forces remain in strategic reserve for situations that hopefully will never develop." The silence that followed was complete and absolutely profound. Every alien delegate was frantically calculating the implications of that simple statement. If what they had discovered through intelligence gathering represented only a small fraction of human military power, then the balance of galactic politics had already shifted beyond any possible recognition. The Shadow Fleet had partially revealed itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. The age of small conflicts between alien civilizations was ending, whether through peaceful negotiation or overwhelming deterrence. 6 months had passed since the first contact protocols began, and the Galactic Council was preparing for what many delegates believed would be the most important session in the entire recorded history of galactic civilization. The massive chamber had been completely reconfigured to accommodate representatives from every known species, over 200 different civilizations, gathering to address what historians would later call the human question. President Dayun of the United Human Systems entered the chamber accompanied by a surprisingly small diplomatic team. Unlike all the previous sessions filled with technical demonstrations and holographic displays, the human delegation carried no data equipment, no presentation systems, and no technological demonstrations. They had already shown the galaxy everything it needed to council leader. Vextar called the historic session to order, his forearms trembling slightly as he addressed the largest assembly of galactic representatives ever gathered in one location. We are here today to determine the future relationship between humanity and the established galactic community. The evidence presented over recent months has forced every civilization represented here to reconsider fundamental assumptions about spacefaring civilization, industrial capacity, and military power that we have held for thousands of years. Economic Minister Ralven from the Trade Federation stood first to address the assembly. The industrial capacity demonstrated by human civilization exceeds our combined galactic economic output by a factor of 23 to 1. Their production capabilities suggest they could construct fleets capable of conquering every known star system simultaneously. If they chose to do so, military commander Rexstar followed with an equally disturbing assessment. Human defensive capabilities indicate a strategic, military doctrine designed specifically for warfare on an interstellar scale that we never imagined possible. Their routine patrol vessels possess more firepower than our largest battle fleets. Their strategic reserves remain unmeasured, but appear to be virtually unlimited in scope. The implications for galactic security are beyond our ability to calculate. President Dayun listened to the presentations with growing concern and sadness. The aliens had drawn exactly the wrong conclusions from everything they had been allowed to observe during the extended contact process. Honored delegates, she said, rising slowly to address the assembly, I believe there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about human intentions, capabilities, and most importantly, our goals as a civilization. The chamber fell into complete silence with every representative focusing absolute attention on the human leader. Yes, humans build very large ships. Yes, we maintain substantial military forces. Yes, our industrial capacity operates on scales that apparently exceed galactic norms by significant margins. President Dayun paused, meeting the gaze of delegates throughout the massive chamber. But you have completely missed the most important aspect of human civilization, and that is why we do all of these things, Minister. So Young activated a simple display showing human colonies throughout the galaxy. Unlike the technical demonstrations of previous sessions, this presentation focused entirely on civilian life in human space. We build large ships because we travel with our families, our communities, our entire cultures intact. We maintain strong defenses because we are protecting not just territory or resources, but the actual homes of billions of people. We operate massive industries because we are building a civilization designed to last for thousands of years and support continued growth and prosperity. Captain Unji, now serving as military liaison, stepped forward. Human military doctrine is based on a very simple principle: overwhelming defensive capability designed to ensure that war never becomes an attractive option for any potential aggressors. We build strong defenses specifically so we never have to use them in actual combat. The goal is peace through obvious strength, not conquest through military dominance. Engineer Minho joined the presentation. Our industrial philosophy is equally straightforward: build systems robust enough to support continued expansion while maintaining high quality of life for our growing population. We do not build on large scales because we want to intimidate anyone. We build large because we are planning for a very long future that includes room for everyone. The alien delegates were beginning to understand what they had been completely missing during months of analysis. Humans were not building a war machine designed for galactic conquest. They were building a sustainable civilization designed for peaceful expansion and long-term Prosperity Admiral Kyung-soo addressed the military concerns directly. The human fleet exists specifically to protect human colonies, trade routes, and civilian populations. We have absolutely no territorial ambitions in alien space, no desire to conquer other civilizations, and no interest in imposing human culture on other species. What we want is cooperation, not domination. President Dai-yoon concluded the presentation. What we are offering the galactic community is genuine partnership based on mutual benefit. Human industrial capacity could benefit every civilization represented in this chamber. Our defensive capabilities could help maintain galactic peace and security for everyone. Our exploration efforts could open new frontiers and opportunities for all species willing to work together. The chamber filled with discussion as delegates considered the human proposal. For months they had viewed humanity as a potential existential threat to galactic stability. The reality was both more complex and infinitely more hopeful than they had imagined. Council leader Vextar called for order after extensive debate. The Council recognizes that humanity represents a completely new paradigm in galactic civilization. Your scale of operations exceeds anything in our recorded history, but your stated intentions appear to be fundamentally peaceful. Trade coordinator Zilnan stood to address economic concerns. The Economic Council has reviewed detailed human trade proposals. Their merchant marine could completely revolutionize galactic commerce, reducing shipping costs by orders of magnitude, while opening previously impossible trade routes between distant systems. Defense analyst Clickstar added his assessment: human defensive capabilities could provide security for smaller civilizations that currently operate under constant threat from pirates, raiders, and aggressive neighbors. The protection alone would transform life for billions of beings throughout the galaxy. President Dai-yoon smiled with genuine warmth. We are prepared to discuss formal treaties establishing human participation in galactic institutions. We believe our civilizations can achieve far more working together than any of us could accomplish operating alone. What followed were months of complex negotiations that completely reshaped galactic politics and economics. Humans joined the Galactic Council not as conquerors but as partners committed to mutual prosperity. Their massive ships became the backbone of an expanded trade network that brought unprecedented prosperity to civilizations across the galaxy. Their industrial capacity was shared through technology transfer programs that lifted entire species into new levels of technological development. Most importantly, human military forces became the foundation of a galactic defense system that ended the chronic warfare and piracy that had plagued the galaxy for thousands of years. The aliens had initially been shocked by the massive scale of human civilization. What they discovered was that this scale was not a threat to galactic peace, but rather the greatest opportunity for cooperation and mutual advancement that had ever existed. In the end, humanity greatest strength was not their technology or military power or industrial capacity. It was their vision of a galaxy where every civilization could thrive together in peace and shared prosperity. The stars had never seemed brighter, and the future had never looked more promising for every species in the galaxy.